What's up guys, just Josh here. Welcome back to the most viewed series on this channel, Album Rankings. And today I'm very excited to be updating the most viewed ranking of said series, which is the Korn album ranking. As of the recording of this video, it has 559 views, which is pretty good for a small channel like mine. You guys have shown a lot of support on that video, and I just want to thank you guys so much for that. I get regular comments every day of people letting me know what they thought of my ranking, giving me their ranking of Korn's albums. It's honestly crazy. And also, I'm going to be updating the Slipknot ranking as well today, so be on the lookout for that. It'll come out around, it'll be up on the channel in around an hour after you're seeing this. If you see this right when it's uploaded, it'll be out in about an hour. So, without any further ado, let's get into this. This one changed a lot, so I'm excited for you guys to see it. Surprise, surprise, my least favorite Korn album is still The Path of Totality. This album is pretty rough. Like I said in my previous video, this is when Korn tried to collaborate with some dubstep artists such as Skrillex and Kill the Noise, to name a few. And yeah, it really just did not work out at all. I really think that they should have released this album without dubstep. It could have been a pretty good album, honestly, without the dubstep. Dubstep just really isn't my thing. If you're a dubstep fan, you're probably really going to enjoy this album. But yeah, dubstep, really not my thing, really not my vibe. But there are only 4 songs on this album that I enjoy. And those are Chaos Lives in Everything, Narcissistic Cannibal, Get Up, and Way Too Far. Bleeding Out is pretty good too, so I'll give it 5 songs that are decent to good. But yeah, this album is just really, really boring, and still my least favorite Korn album. My second least favorite Korn album is still their Untitled album released in 2007. We're just going to call it Korn 2. So yeah, this album is not really bad, but it's just the same problem as The Path of Totality. It's not bad per se, but it's just really boring. It's a bit better than The Path of Totality, but it's got a good number of decent tracks on here, such as Starting Over, Bitch We Got a Problem, Evolution, Hold On, and Killing. And Ever Be is pretty good too. Yeah, it's just, this album had more of an industrial experimental vibe, which I really did not connect with. I don't think it really worked too well. So yeah, still my second least favorite Korn album, but not a bad album. And this is where the ranking gets tough. Wow. I did get a few people asking why Life is Peachy was so low on my original ranking. Back when they had 12 albums and the Nothing wasn't out yet. This was number 8 on my original ranking, so that would translate to number 9 if I were to keep it in its original spot. But yeah, I just came to the conclusion right before I started recording this video I was going to keep it in its original spot, but I looked at Remember Who You Are, I looked at See You on the Other Side, and I just said no. This album is not better than Remember Who You Are. This album is not better than See You on the Other Side. It's going to be moved to number 11. My third least favorite Korn album. This is not a bad album by any means. It's just, I don't know what's up with this album. I just don't really feel it whenever I listen to it. It feels very off. It's a very weird and strange album. Now, I know that's Korn's thing. They're supposed to be this weird, strange band. But I really don't know what the fuck they were thinking with songs like Cunts, Wicked, Ass Itch, and even Mr. Rogers too. But you still have some really good songs, some Korn staples on here, such as Twist and She, Good God, No Place to Hide, Adidas, and Kill You. It's just, this is a very strange album to me, and I just don't feel it. And at number 10, we have See You on the Other Side. If you ask most old school Korn fans about this album, when I say old school, I mean fans of the band that have been there since 1994, when Korn first started, If you ask most of them about this album, most of them will tell you that this is when they stopped listening to Korn. This is when Korn became too mainstream. And as the title alludes to, See You on the Other Side basically means that they wanted to see what the other side had to offer in terms of producers. So they worked with The Matrix on this album, which I guess is some kind of group of pop producers. I don't really know. But yeah, they started incorporating some mainstream elements into their music with this album, especially with lead singles Twisted Transistor and Coming Undone. But this album has some pretty underrated songs, such as Liar, For No One, Throw Me Away, and Love Song is pretty good too, but there's some songs on here that I'm not really too big on, such as Tenor a Two-Way, Open Up, and Getting Off, and Seen It All. Open Up is alright, but it's way too long in my opinion, and that transitional period at the end of the song is really weird. It's just one weird transition after another, and it really doesn't flow. It's just kind of stop and go. It's really weird. Just listen to it if you haven't already. And that leads into Coming Undone. So yeah, I mean, it's alright. It has some great songs, but it also has some not so great songs, and it's my fourth least favorite Korn album. And at number 9 we have Korn 3, Remember Who You Are. This is a pretty underrated album. I know in my last video I said that it really doesn't measure up to albums such as Life is Peachy and their self-titled album. I still stand by my statement that this doesn't hold up to their self-titled album. I mean, for obvious reasons, but this is a better album than Life is Peachy in my opinion. It has some really, really awesome songs, such as Oildale, Pop a Pill, Fear's a Place to Live, Let the Guilt Go, Never Around, and Are You Ready to Live? It's got some weaker songs, such as Move On, Lead the Parade, The Past, and the bonus tracks really aren't that great, but it's a pretty good album, honestly. They worked with Ross Robinson for the third time on this album, so that's why it's called Korn 3, Remember Who You Are. You know, they brought back elements from Life is Peachy on the self-titled. This is a very raw album, not a lot of post-production, not a lot of editing, very raw. And if you guys know how Ross Robinson is, I would assume. He's a crazy motherfucker, but honestly, he makes some of the best music I've ever fucking heard. And for that reason, this was moved up a few spots. And at number 8, we have Take a Look in the Mirror. Very, very, very solid album. This would probably be the worst Korn album as far as the band is concerned, but I really disagree with that. I love this album. It was my go-to album at cardio class in the school. And yeah, it's just a very heavy, pissed off album. Very solid. Lots of great tracks on here, such as Right Now, Breaks Them Off, Counting on Me, Deep Inside, Did My Time, Alive, and When Will This End. You also have some pretty underrated songs on here, such as Here It Comes Again, Everything I've Known, Let's Do This Now, and I'm Done. The only song I don't like on this album is Play Me featuring Nas. It doesn't really work that well when Korn tries to bring in these rappers to do guest vocals. I know that's the whole thing with nu metal, some rapping and all that, but I don't know. I don't feel that at all. But anyways, yeah, I really don't know why the band hates this album so much. I think it's a really good album. And at number 7, we have Follow the Leader. This is a really big change because this was number 2 in my original album ranking of Korn. But I took a good look at this album, and 3 tracks in particular did the job in terms of downgrading this album down to number 7, and those 3 tracks are the 3 rap collaborations Children of the Korn featuring Ice Cube, All in the Family featuring Fred Durst, and Cameltosis featuring Trey Hardson. Those 3 tracks are some of the worst tracks Korn has ever put out. Children of the Korn is okay, but All in the Family and Cameltosis, those are just terrible, terrible songs. Those 3 songs alone warrant this spot, in my opinion. But it still has some really good songs, such as It's On, Freak on a Leash, and Got the Life. And it also has some pretty underrated songs as well, such as B.B.K, Pretty, Justin, and Seed. So yeah, I just don't really listen to this album that often, so that's why I moved it down quite a few spots. And at number 6, we have The Paradigm Shift. This album is, in my opinion, Korn's most underrated album. This album saw the return of Head to the band, and they delivered a very, very solid album with lots of good tracks such as Pray For Me, Love and Meth, What We Do, Spike in My Veins, Mass Hysteria, Punishment Time, and It's All Wrong. Really not a bad song on this album. The only song I'm not too huge on is Never Never. It kind of sounds like a Paradigm Shift B-side, but I'll forgive that because the rest of this album definitely delivers. And at number 5, we got Korn's most recent album, The Nothing, and wow, this album exceeded my expectations because when I heard the lead single, You'll Never Find Me, I had pretty low expectations. I didn't think it was bad, but it was nothing new either. They were playing it pretty safe with this song, in my opinion. But this album leaked about 2 weeks before it came out officially on kingdomleaks.com, and yeah, this album blew me away in a sense. With the intro, The End Begins, with the very somber bagpipes that call back to Dead from Issues and Chutes and Ladders from their self-titled album, and Jonathan Davis ends up breaking down, borderline sobbing at the end of the song. That was shocking. And then Cold came out a little bit after You'll Never Find Me, and I thought that was a way better song. Then they released Can You Hear Me a bit before the album came out. But this album has lots of good songs, such as The Darkness Is Revealing, Idiosyncrasy, Finally Free, Gravity of Discomfort, Harder, and This Loss. Yeah, this album exceeded my expectations very much, and that's why I believe it belongs in the upper middle of Korn's discography. And at number 4, we have The Serenity of Suffering. Very, very good stuff here. You got tracks such as Insane, Rotting in Vain, Black is the Soul, A Different World featuring Corey Taylor of Slipknot. And you got Die Yet Another Night and Please Come For Me. Very good album, also very heavy album. When this came out, it was probably their heaviest album since Take a Look in the Mirror. And fans were very pleased to see somewhat of a return to form for the band. And it is definitely one of their best albums. And at number 3, we have Untouchables. Now, if you saw my previous Korn ranking, you know the deal about this album. I really didn't like it at first. It was my second least favorite Korn album for a little bit, but then I started listening to it more and more, and I grew to absolutely love it. And to this day, when I want to listen to Korn, this is one of my go-tos, one of my favorite Korn albums of all time. This thing grew on me like a fucking fungus, man. It was insane. With tracks such as Here to Stay, Blame, Hollow Life, Bottled Up Inside, Thoughtless, Hating, Alone I Break, No One's There. Lots of great songs on this album. The only 2 songs I'm really not a fan of are Make Believe and Wake Up Hate. I don't really like the way those 2 sound. This album is still pretty overproduced, but I'm willing to forgive that because this is a very amazing album. I love the lyrics, very personal, pissed off, self-loathing lyrics, and it's just amazing. And at number 2, my second favorite Korn album of all time is Issues. This album is fucking amazing. The only negative I could point out is that there's a bit too many interludes. You got 5 interludes, Dead, For You, It's Gonna Go Away, Am I Going Crazy, and Wish You Could Be Me. But I can forgive it because they add to the overall atmosphere and flow of the album. You have absolute bangers on this album, such as Falling Away From Me, Trash, Make Me Bad, Hey Daddy, Somebody Someone, Let's Get This Party Started, Counting, and Dirty. And by the way, Counting is probably, I wouldn't want to call it Korn's most underrated song, but it's definitely one of their most underrated songs. Truly one of Korn's most hidden gems. If you haven't listened to it, go check it out. It's fucking insane. But yeah, this album, also one of the first Korn albums I ever heard, and it was a huge factor in getting me into Korn. And at number 1, what else could it be? My favorite Korn album is still their self-titled debut album, just because this was the album that started it all for me, and started it all for Korn as well. Their debut album, this was the first Korn album I ever heard all the way through, and Daddy was the song that got me into Korn. Not the first Korn song I ever heard. I have always heard, Freak on a Leash and Here to Stay on the radio here and there. I like those 2 songs, but Freak on a Leash was the one that I listened to for years, and never really listened to any Korn besides that until Daddy was in my YouTube recommendations, and holy shit, I was absolutely mesmerized by that fucking song. And yeah, I was scared to listen to it for a few days, but I decided to keep listening to it, and I checked out the whole album. And yeah, this album, without this album I would not be making this video, and for that reason it's got to be number 1. And that is my updated ranking for Korn. I would love if you guys would support this video just like you supported my original Korn ranking video, but I don't expect it, but it would be awesome. Anyways guys, let me know what your ranking is down in the comment section below, and be on the lookout because the updated Slipknot ranking is coming, along with the updated Machine Head ranking, and I'm going to be doing some new bands as well pretty soon. Some of the bands I got in mind are Killswitch Engage, Whitechapel, and Stained, so please be on the lookout for those. Peace out.